Welcome to another episode of the Dunn Wisdom Show. I am your host, Melissa P. Dunn, CEO of MD Marketing and Consultant, founder of this Dunn Wisdom movement, and of course, commissioner in the city of Lauderdale. Now, you know I love to introduce y'all to leaders with a good heart that really have the intention of serving the people in a way that builds up communities. And the leader that I'm going to introduce you today is someone that I have known for a long time. And I have long admired the work that she has done around health disparities in a Florida city. And, she also used to be my client. And we've worked on several projects together on the consulting side of my business. So I know that you are going to love her as much as I do. We have an opportunity as well to lean into service and to mobilize community to do what's right. So without further ado, please give a warm Dunn Wisdom welcome to my friend and colleague, Thamara Labrousse. Hi, Thamara.
Hi, Melissa. How are you?
I am well. It's so good to have you back on the Dunn Wisdom Show.
It's been a while. It's amazing.
It's been a long time. Yeah. In fact, I think the last time that I had you on the show might have been right after COVID, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
So good to see you again. So Thamara, tell us a little bit about yourself. Give us a little background. What's your origin story?
Sure. My name is Thamara Labrousse, and I am Haitian American. I've been living in South Florida for over 40 years. And by way of profession, I am a nonprofit executive. I am managing a nonprofit organization right now as its executive director. But I have over 30 years actually of work in this community, primarily Miami-Dade County, focusing on public health, social justice, and social services. And so my journey has just always been about community and about community service.
And that's exactly how you and I got connected, because I think it was like 2017 we started working together, Live Healthy Miami Gardens.
15.
Yes. Oh, wow. A long time ago. And I'm curious, I've always known you to be a person that was committed to service excellence. I've always experienced you as a servant leader. And I've always experienced you as somebody that really is committed to serving community. What did that level of commitment come from? Where did that come from for you?
I think it really starts, for me, it started very, very early. I remember when I was a teenager, we moved into a neighborhood off of 79th Street in Miami. And I must have been 12 at the time. Yeah, I was in middle school. And my mom was a single mom raising 5 children. And we had very little, but there was an elderly woman that lived next door to us. And she lived alone, and she was aging and really had a lot going on. And my mom started taking care of her. And she wasn't just taking care of her, but she made us, take care of her. So on Saturdays, we got up and we had a very sort of regimented routine, to clean up the house, do the laundry, get everything in order. And before I knew it, I was going over to this woman's house to clean up her house as part of my job. And I remember, thinking, why am I doing this? And in fact, later we started calling her grandma.
Wow.
And my girlfriend came over and we were sitting on the porch, and my mom, would make food and she would make us take it over to her. And my mom came out to the porch. She handed me a covered plate. She said, take this to your grandma. And so I asked my friend to walk with me. And as we're walking next door, she was like, oh, I didn't know your grandma lived right next door. I was so annoyed. I was like, girl, that is not my grandmother. But I oftentimes think back to that experience because my mother never said, you need to do this. She made us do it. And when she said do something, you did it without really questioning it. But it really was opening up my mind to this idea that you have to care for others. And as little as we had, she gave so much to this person. And she ultimately did become part of our family. And so I think for me, it started that early with that example and experience of, extending yourself, making sure that someone, who maybe has a little bit less, or maybe don't have anyone to care for them, making sure that they're okay. And so when I got a little older, I just totally gravitated to community service. I started volunteering in high school. I was volunteering with some youth organizations that led to my first job in social services. And so it's just become a whole lifetime of in a journey. But I oftentimes think about my mother and just how amazingly giving and
Mm.
caring she was, and how she believed, even though she never articulated, and set this expectation. I can tell now that she believed in this idea of giving back and taking care of community.
I love that. So she led by example.
Absolutely,
She led
absolutely.
by example.
And although in the beginning I resented it because it was just one more thing.
Hello.
You know,
Teenagers don't want to go clean and do any of that stuff.
like I have to clean my house, and I have to clean this woman's house, like, but it definitely was the foundation for me for so
Mm.
many things, around community service, giving back, making sure people are okay, extending yourself, and so it's so second nature now.
It is. It is. And that's exactly how I've experienced your leadership. Like I've always experienced you as a leader that is collaborative and kind. You take care of your people first. You ride and you live to make sure that your people are good, right?
I tried
And
to.
yeah, 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 yeah. And I think that when service becomes a part of your DNA, then no matter which space you're showing up in your personal life or in your professional life, that's just who you are.
Yeah, I believe so. I do try to, think of others and think about, what would I want if I were in their,
Mhm.
how would I want to be treated? How would I want them to experience me if we're having an interaction? And so I think that that sort of is how I try to move. You
Mhm.
Obviously, I'm not perfect. I don't always get it right, but I do try to think about, how are people experiencing me? Um,
Mhm.
what feelings am I evoking? And are they feeling seen? Are they feeling heard? And so I always try to approach, things from that standpoint.
Oh, that's so powerful. What I'm hearing you say is that your intention is very important in how you show up in the space and how you lead.
Yeah, how I show up, how I lead, and how people experience me.
How
Like,
people
walk
experience.
away, are they thinking, "Oh my God, what is wrong with this lady?"
Mhm.
Has it been an experience where, they truly felt seen and felt heard? I think that's, at the end of the day, that's what's really important for me. And so I try to just keep that in mind.
I love that. So tell me about your current assignment. I know that you took on a new role. Congratulations, by the way, in being the newly appointed executive director for really what is a legacy nonprofit in Miami-Dade County. Tell us a
Absolutely.
little bit about that transition and the agency.
Sure. So I am currently the executive director of Sant, the Haitian Neighborhood Center. And you're right, it is a legacy organization. We've just entered into our 26th year. And so Santla was started by several individuals, including Gypsy Metellus, who led the organization for the last 25 years. So she stepped away in December of 2025, and I started this new role in January of 2026. I'd been associated with Santla for many, many, many years as a collaborator and as a board member. I've sat on the board for more than 10 years. And so it's
Mhm.
organization that I'm very familiar with. And at our core, we're a multi-service social service organization that works primarily with Haitian immigrants, not exclusively, but primarily
Mhm.
Haitian immigrants. And so we provide an array of services to help support Haitian immigrants as they enter into South Florida and as they acclimate. And the services, are really to ensure that they have what they need. They have the information, they have the support, they have the services in order to continue to thrive. And so I'm really deeply, deeply honored to be in this role. There was quite a bit of work that went into the planning of this transition, because obviously after 25 years of having one leader was a huge deal. And so I'm honored to be here. I'm honored to have the trust and the faith of my board of directors and the community. And one thing that I will say about this particular role, after over 30 years, for me, it became this question of, I've gained this really amazing history and this amazing experience and this skill set, and I started asking myself, like, what I think is probably going to be the last leg of my career, because I'm a little older now. Where did I want to have impact? What did I want to do with this, accumulation of experience and skill set? And for me, once I started looking at it that way, it became about legacy from that perspective as well, in terms of my own legacy and where I wanted to have impact, the last leg of my career. And when I looked at it that way, Santla felt like the absolute, best choice, the best place, and absolutely the where I'm supposed to be right now. And so from that perspective, as well, I'm just really excited and honored to be here at Santla.
I love that. I love that. And how fitting, because, you know, one leader for 25 years, she grew it into a legacy organization. Now another leader that's going to help really set it up for it to be not only a deeper legacy in Miami-Dade County, but hopefully, come on up to Broward when you're ready. My community needs a Satla, right?
Yeah.
And really make it be also your personal legacy. I think that's really powerful, Tamara.
Yeah, it really is, and it is just such an incredible opportunity. We are, having all kinds of conversations about, sustainability, about expansion, about, making the organization, more visible. I mean, Gypsy just did such an amazing job for so
Mhm.
long,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
into such a well-rounded, healthy, grounded, strong organization. And so to step into a place that had so much happening that were so positive to begin with is really, I didn't have to put out any fires and I didn't have to manage any crises. So I could really focus, on some sort of the long-term, sustainability stuff. And so that's really been the focus for the past, several months, and just really sort of like reimagining, what could
Mhm.
25 years look like, for the organization, and working collaboratively with my board and with staff and with our partners to sort of do that visioning together.
I love that. I love that. And so I know that the Haitian community is in, and let me take that back. I was going to say the Haitian community is in a state of crisis and uncertainty now, but I believe that when one community is facing a struggle, we all are facing a struggle, right? Because when rights are taken away and protections are lifted from one group of people, then who knows who's next? And so I know that there's a lot happening right now with for the Haitian community. Can you help us to understand exactly what's happening with TPS?
Sure. And I'm so thankful and grateful for the way that you've framed it, because that's exactly what it is, right? And that's the thing that I think all of us have to remember, that what's happening currently within the Haitian community is not just a Haitian issue. You know,
Mhm.
it's really a human rights issue, and it impacts every single person. And when one community is freedom and rights are threatened, then yes, every community is at risk for that to happen. And so, I really appreciate the framing around that. So, there are many Haitians in our community who have TPS, which is temporary protective status, within our community, and TPS is now, under threat. So what's happening right now is that the Supreme Court, a recent Supreme Court decision, has cleared the way for the termination of temporary protective status, TPS. And this is not just for Haitians, it's for Haitians and for Syrians. And it's already happened, with other immigrant groups like the Venezuelans. And so for these two communities, what it means is that they will lose their legal status and their legal ability to be in our community. And with that comes their legal ability to work, their work permit. And so the folks who have lived in our community for many, many, many years and who have been working in our community and who have been, they work here, they live here, they pay taxes here, they've been raising their children here, they contribute to the strength of our communities, are now at risk to lose their temporary status. And so that's the work that we've been focusing on to try to keep that from happening. And so just to give you a sense of scale, with Florida is home to the largest TPS population in the country, and that's about 400,000 people. And across the country, we're talking about a large number of people who will be forced to make decisions around whether or not they stay, whether or not they leave, who potentially faces forced deportation and separation from their families. So the issue is really complicated, and it's really one that requires a different approach than what our current administration is trying to do. So that's the work that Sant has been a part of. We've been part of the local as well as the national advocacy efforts. And so we're working with a lot of different organizations, community-based organizations, faith leaders, policymakers, people from the business sector, and to try to keep this from happening in our community.
So, are there still more opportunities for legal challenges, or was the Supreme Court's decision kind of really paving the way and that's it?
Yeah, so both. Definitely, the Supreme Court decision is definitely a setback as far as we're concerned, and it does create a path for TPS to be terminated. But we are working on something. It's Senate Bill 4818, which would give us an opportunity to have our senators pass a bill that would give an opportunity to expand TPS and to expand it for a period of 3 years. And so one of the things that we're working on is getting bipartisan support. So we're asking our community members to get involved and to, call their senators. There's also an online letter that they can sign on to. And once you do that, it sends a letter to your senator basically saying, I support this, I stand for this, and I need your support on this. And so we're encouraging community members to get involved and to do something as simple as just signing this online letter, so that we can get the support that we need. And so our community can access that on our website, which is www.santla.org. So that's one way that the community can get involved. But we're also working with today is Tuesday, but on Thursday, January the 9th, we're doing a National Day of Action, and this will be
not to interrupt you, but February, you said January the 9th, June the 9th.
July the 9th, not even
July the 9th. Oh my God, I'm like June, July.
We're both so wrong, right? So July the 9th. So sorry about that. This year has just flown by. But July the 9th, we're part of a 7-city National Day of Action at 5:30. The location is going to be posted on our website as well as our social media platforms later on today. But at 5:30 on Thursday, July the 9th, we're doing this day of action. And so we're asking our broad community to just show up and to stand in solidarity with us. We've been fighting this fight with our partners for a while, but this is not just a Haitian issue. This is not just an immigration issue. This is a human rights issue. It's a family issue. It's a workplace issue. It's a community issue. And so we're really are asking people from every neighborhood, from every background, and every faith to join us on the 9th, and to have the presence, this diverse presence, send a powerful message that our community believes in dignity, fairness, and keeping families together. So this is an opportunity. If you haven't been engaged, you don't understand the issue, and you haven't known how to get involved, this is an opportunity to do that. And we cannot remain silent in this moment. It's just way too important, and there's just too much at risk. And so we're asking our community to come out with us on July 9th, and to support the folks that are being impacted by this, and to let them know that they are not alone.
Yeah, we're gonna have a link to your website and your social media channels, Tamara, so that folks can go there for additional information. But you talked about keeping families together. Now, in my city, we have 77,000 people in the city of Lauderdale, and 13% of them are of Haitian heritage. And so, and I'm concerned about what that would mean for the families that I represent, and families really across the nation. We heard you say that there's over 400 people in the US with TPS as a status.
Yeah.
What can we say to families who are currently facing this possibility? Like, how can they prepare and get a plan in place just in case?
Yeah, and
I think that's something that Sant Law is helping with.
Absolutely, and that's really important, Melissa. So one thing that I want to point out is that many of these TPS holders have American-born children, right? These are folks who have been in our community for many, many years, and they have, one to multiple children that were born in the U.S., who are Americans and who call, the United States home. And these children, all of them, many of them have never even stepped foot in Haiti. And so they're American born children. So when you look at the complexities around TPS, and we talk about this idea of families being separated, families are having to think about the possibility of, maybe having to return to Haiti forcefully, but maybe not taking their children with them because of what's happening on the ground in Haiti, and knowing and recognizing that they cannot provide, the same opportunity, for their children in Haiti. So when we talk about family separation, we're talking about families, parents being, taken away from their children, and children, being separated from their families. And so in terms of preparation, since January, the work that we've been doing is just helping families to think about, essentially the worst case scenario, and to plan around that. Think about how would you handle this situation, and put a plan in place. And so that plan, for us, is thinking about also your assets. And if you are a parent, your child obviously is your most important, significant asset, right? So what would happen in that scenario? Are you willing to be, to move back to Haiti and have your child, your American-born child, stay here? What would that look like? Can you put in place a power of attorney with someone that you trust that can have, temporary care of your child and be able to make decisions on their behalf? And so a lot of the work that we've been doing is offering access to information and services, immigration information, referrals, those, including consultation with immigration attorneys, assisting with applications, and in looking at other pathways like asylum and all of those kinds of things, but really providing wraparound services to help our families access the supportive services that they need, and to also ensure that they have access to accurate, up-to-date information, because there's a lot of really misleading and false information out there. There are people who try to take advantage of our community, because right now, and this has been the case for many, many months, people are scared.
Yeah, of
They're
course.
scared, they're anxious, they're confused, they don't know what to do. And so they're very vulnerable, from that perspective. And there are folks, unfortunately, who want to take advantage of that. They want to promise them, that they can make sure that they're going to be able to stay in the United States by, filing certain papers or doing whatever, and charge them
Mhm.
all sorts of dollars to make, and false promises, for things that don't even exist. And so just making sure that our community have access to accurate information, have access to trusted partners and trusted, legal advice and legal support. Those are just some of the things that we've been doing. But we've also been thinking about and working around the mental health space, to make sure that our families are supported. Again, mentioning the stress and the anxiety,
Yeah.
they've been a lot. It's been a lot. It's been a lot on our children. It's been a lot on our families. And we're seeing how that stress and anxiety and uncertainty and fear is causing, some really mental health challenges. So also providing, wraparound services around, those types of issues as well.
So the information that's on your website is would be helpful to those. I'm assuming would be helpful to my residents in Lauderhill, to give them a big picture, up to date information about what's happening, and maybe where they can go to seek support.
Correct. So we've been working, like I mentioned, both at the local and national level. We have a number of partners. We've created a TPS landing page on our website, www.supply.org. And so it gives you the information that you need. It explains, what TPS is, what's happening with TPS, how you can get involved, and where you can get assistance for sure. And also how you can support, as I mentioned, the Senate bill that we really, really need community support around.
All right. So those are two call to action. So number one, support the Senate bill, and that's simply by signing your name to a letter that will get sent to your senator. And number two, if you're in South Florida, show up on the 9th of July for that rally.
Yeah, so the rally is entitled People Are Not Temporary. Again, it's a national TPS rally. And in fact, if you're in a couple other cities, Boston, Georgia, New York City, Washington, D.C., potentially Philly, there's other actions happening on July the 9th that folks can tap into as well. But this national TPS rally that's happening on Thursday is really provides an opportunity. If you've been, sitting on the sideline and thinking about, the communities that are being impacted, if you care about, what this is, how this is impacting our community and what's happening, and you want to do something, those are two very tangible ways that you can get involved. You can join us, you can stand with us, you can raise your voice, and we can together, show that South Florida believes that every family deserves dignity, stability, and hope. And so these are very tangible ways that you can get involved right now.
Right now, right now. Well, thank you, Tamara, for bringing this important opportunity to our attention. I'm going to, as I mentioned, I'm going to share it with our Dunn Wisdom community, and but I'm also going to share it with my City of Lauderhill community, because, as I mentioned, 13% of my residents are of Haitian heritage, and when one community is threatened, then we don't know who's next, right? And so right is right and wrong is wrong, and this is really a human rights issue. And so I think it's important for all of us to lend our voice in whatever way we can from wherever we are right now.
I absolutely agree with you, Melissa. I couldn't have said it any better. And I am so incredibly grateful for your support and the support of the Lauderhill community and the Broward community as well. So yes, join us and stand in solidarity with us. And I thank you so much for this opportunity to spend this morning with you.
Wonderful. Thank you for the opportunity. All right, Dunn Wisdom. Listen, check out the link in the bio, check out the link in the caption. Go to Sant Law, take advantage. We know that we are the hands and feet of God on this earth. And so it is critical for us to do our part to take care of our fellow man. All right. So thank you. And thank you for watching this episode. I will see you on the next video. Be well, everyone.